Hello and welcome to Colorful Talks. My name is Kesha Williams. I am the founder of Colors of STEM, which is a blog that features women, successful women in STEM careers, and that blog is used mainly to give young girls role models. So today with me I have Aiesha Dotson. Her chosen STEM career is computer science and information systems. So first, can you tell us about your journey into tech and a little bit about your background?
Sure. Aiesha Dotson, when starting tech, and it's interesting that this is going to be shared with young girls. When I was in junior high and high school, I didn't have any exposure to programming or computer science from a school point of view. My mother had gone to gone on to get her secondary degree after doing factory work, and just wanted to do something different. And so my exposure became through my mother and going to classes with her at Lindenwood University at that time, as she was studying for her MIS degree. So that was my introduction. Even with that, it really wasn't so much around programming when you think about coding and kind of the hacking type of aspect of it. It was really more around management systems of large systems, managing of accounting and things of that nature. And so that was that little bit of exposure that got me into the field. You know, thinking back on it, I don't know if she had not done that if I'd gone into this field, because I didn't have any other exposure otherwise in a real tangible way to say that that's something that was feasible for me.
So now talk to me about your very first computer science course. For me, I remember my very first course was a course in Pascal programming, and I was totally confused. I didn't know what was going on. The professor that I had, I could barely understand him. And for a while, I thought maybe I had gotten myself into something that I wouldn't be able to manage. And so tell me about your very first computer programming class.
So, as I shared in my story, I had taken a C++ course and started out with a room full of students, and there was also a language barrier, I believe, with the professor. English was not his first language, so it was hard to understand. And then really, I think what became crippling to the whole class, I realized, because everybody was quiet, just kind of listening, you don't know, was that we had to use the VI editor, which is the command line editor. And I had never seen this editor before, didn't know anything about it. And so really we would have to do these exercises within the class to keep up with what he was doing and type in what he was doing. But most people struggled because we did not understand VI on how to go along with the course. And so that experience was much like yours. I did not know what was going on. Others in the class seemed like they were just as lost.
Right.
And for a while, I just kind of, recoiled a little bit in the class, like, I got to figure this out, like what's going on, and then we had that Unix, VI, the Unix in a Nutshell book. Do you remember that reference book? It's a reference book. It doesn't tell you how to use it per se. You have to know something about it to use a reference book. So in hindsight, I understood that, but so I figured one day after just like, I don't know what's going on in class, test scores are not looking well, I have to figure this out. I found I have to figure out how to use this editor better than I can. So I figured out how to do that by finding an article online. And once I could understand that, then I could follow along a little bit better in class, but still there was that language barrier, thick accent. And so I just kind of decided I'm going to totally tune out in class. This is absolute. It's programmed. If it works, it's going to work. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And so I just started reading the book everything in the chapters, even if they didn't sign, and tried to see if I could do the exercises in the back. And that's how I got started. The next test was much, much better. And by the end, because I think a lot of students struggled in the course, what you got on the final exam is what you got in the course. And so I got an A on the final exam. Wow. By then I had gotten through those obstacles and wind up getting an A in the course. And so I still, with that experience, was kind of throwing it back like, hey, this isn't something I want to do. You know, I really had sworn off, like, I'm not going to program. You know, I'll be in management and information, but I'm not going to be in the corner like programming. That's not for me. So that's kind of how I left that experience.
So for me, it's very interesting that you and I both had the same experience with our very first computer programming course. And I just like to say computer science, computer programming, it's not easy, but it's something that if you put your mind to it and you work hard and you look for outside references if your teacher is not really explaining things clearly, but if it's your passion, it's something that you can definitely achieve. Aiesha is a testament to that, and so am I. So if computer science is your passion, definitely stick with it. So tell us about your current role and where you work and what you do today.
Okay. So currently, I'm an IS team leader at a company, a financial services company called Edward Jones, and I have 10 programmers that report to me. The leadership role is relatively new, about 4 years in leadership. So still in IS division, still delivering technology, part of that process, but I do not code at work anymore.
So in your leadership role, you no longer code. How does that make you feel? Do you miss programming?
So to answer that question, I do miss programming. And so what I do to fill that void, I still program on the side, outside of my job. I still try to keep up with things. You know, I had a Treehouse account, and I just recently put that on pause. I'm looking at the free code camp. So there's so many things out there that you can, so many free programs out there, free books, blogs, etc. You can just get started. So if you have a computer and an internet connection, man, it's just a different world from when I was in school. So you can keep going in that aspect of it. There's so many things that you can do. As far as work, when I first transitioned to leadership role, I really struggled because being in leadership is it's a service role. It's not kind of, it is a service role. And it's someone that told me that before. I didn't really get that, but I get it now. And you're helping to get the projects delivered. You're looking for trying to mitigate and keep any obstacles out of your project, your developer's way, so that they can code. And it's an important role. And having good leaders, that, you know, as you've been a software developer, you know, you can appreciate those ones that are good leaders that can do that for you.
Right.
So I was excited about being able to do that and help folks with their development and things like that. But I did really struggle when I get to the end of like a performance year in leadership and say, okay, what did I do? You don't have a lot of tangible stuff that you do.
Right.
It's hard to kind of quantify, like, you know, what's my value? What do I bring to the table? You know, when I was a developer, it was easy to say, okay, well, I made these performance improvements in this program. You know, I created this interface, and, you know, I put this process in place, and now we're automated the manual process, and now this service team is, you know, saving so much time. They can do other things. It's really hard to do that. So I did struggle with that. I still struggle with that from time to time. But then you understand that having that good leadership is also a good part of, is also a very important part of delivering that software and technology. So I really do like doing the technology, and I try to keep up with it in the industry. And I have to, because I support a team of developers. I have to understand what they're doing as well. But I am not in a code editor at work, unfortunately, which I hate. I'm more in email in Excel most of the time, um, but so yeah, to that, I don't know what I'm going to do when I grow up. I don't know if you're on the leadership
Mhm.
path or trajectory, or if I'll do like you and go back and get more technical at some point.
Right. I like that you mentioned that there are resources outside of work that you utilize to help keep your skills current or to allow you to code and program to keep your skills up to date. And just for middle school students and high school students, there are so many resources out there for you. If you are interested in coding, you can check on code.org. There are a lot of Hour of Code sessions that use what they call the block style of programming, where it's just drag and drop, and it really just teaches you the basic concepts of programming. So there are a ton of resources out there that you can utilize if you feel like computer science is something for you. So Aiesha, tell us, what do you enjoy most about your job?
Okay. So in my current role, what I enjoy most is seeing a problem, seeing where there's going to be an issue on delivering software on time or at the correct or at the right level of quality, and being able in my role to put the right people together in a timely manner to get that fixed. I love that. You know, the people I work with are extremely talented, but we have aggressive deadlines. We have an endless list of work that needs to be done. So I do a lot of tactical prioritizations with folks. So I might have an associate that's doing fine with the workload they have one day, and the next day something turns, they come across an issue, and being able to help them make sure their day is successful and say, okay, let's step back and say what's the most important to get done, and let them know that I'm in the boat with them about, okay, this is what I perceive the most important is a big help, I think, for the team, and it helps them to get focused, and then everybody's in agreement about what they're doing, and we can move forward. So just helping advocate for my team.
So technology changes at a rapid pace, and you have to work hard to keep current. So Aiesha, can you talk to us more about the statement from your feature? In this field, you have to learn how to teach yourself to be successful. Can you share more about what that means to you and your experiences with it?
Yeah. So like you said, you have to keep current. That was something that attracted me to this field, is that it's ever changing, and so in my mind, that allows the opportunity to level set. And so, I haven't been coding for 4 years. I feel like I could come back and, there's this new Java script framework and learn it when everybody else is, and the playing field is level because it just came out, and if I
Right.
dedicate myself, I can learn it. To it, I can learn it and produce something with that software. That being said, there's always some new hot shiny thing out there, and it's hard. You can jump from thing to thing to thing. And in the role that I am now, I can read at a high level about those things and kind of know what they're about at a high level, and it's good to know about what tools are available to us now. But as a developer, I really struggle with, okay, well, I have a couple hours this weekend. Which hot new thing should I focus on? Is it going to be valuable, or going to look back in a year and it's not important? And so I think those core concepts that you learn that you're going to need always, and being able to learn things quickly and apply them is very critical to being successful. And not just, and knowing that you're going to have to learn things. And I used to feel like, okay, everybody else in the room has been studying this stuff day and night, and I just started the introductory course, and I'm behind. But and then you start talking to people, and they're like, oh no, I haven't been looking at this. I've been working on such and such. And so, get out there and learn as much as possible. Don't be afraid to say, I don't know something. I think that's something that if you just raise raise your hand and say, I don't know anything about this, even if you've been working in the field for 20 years, is key, because I think it can be intimidating to newbies because you feel like, oh, if I raise my hand, they're going to think I'm totally unfit to be in this field, and that's not, it's everything is always new. No one knows everything about all the different.
Very good point.
So being successful in that, you have to know how you learn. So case in point, like you said, you can go to code.org and maybe learn the high-level concepts. I was just listening to someone saying that they really struggled with a for loop, the concept of the for loop, and now they're in like a computer science program at Stanford. And
wow.
Well, so, but there are, hundreds and thousands of blogs, and just keep trying. Like you say, oh, I learned about that already. I don't get it. Find somebody else's point of view on that topic and see if, they might present it in such a way that it finally clicks for you.
So can you tell us about a mentor that has positively influenced your life?
And I had one mentor that was really relatable for me, and really gave me some core tools as it relates to troubleshooting systems. So when you're in school, you have your coursework, and you just kind of go down this path of like, okay, but how do you debug? How do you troubleshoot issues in a production environment? And so I learned a lot working in that aspect. And then as I got further in the company, I also made built other relationships with other folks that really helped me, not just about and from a technology standpoint, but just in how to grow my career in general, on how to present myself, how to be visible. I think a lot of folks, they tell you, you work hard, you'll get good grades, you'll get a good job, and things will work fine. And you can be smart, work hard, and do a great job, but if no one knows who you are, it's hard to get those opportunities. So That was the key thing, having a mentor that showed me how to strategically position myself to get the visibility that I needed to move around the organization. So that's something I don't think I didn't get in school, and I think it's something that partner with someone who's a mentor. Now, hindsight, I wish I had gotten connected with mentors that were in various different points of their career in the firm and technology. Sometimes it can be intimidating to say, okay, well, I don't want to talk to a director because I don't even know if I want to do that. I'm coding right now. So don't be so locked in on who your mentors can be.
So, Aiesha, this is always a fun question. What advice would you give to your 19-year-old self?
So long ago, 19-year-old self. Probably in the dorm eating cereal. As my 19-year-old self, I think I would have networked more.
That's good.
I didn't have a lot of people that looked like me in my major.
Right.
So I really wish I had networked more. And I am still connected with the university, and specifically with the IS group, still connected. Just they have like a mentor program, job and career fair. I did a panel last week, and so that's just through, growing up and saying, and connecting back with the university. But while I was there, I wish I would have networked more for sure. Like you said, there's virtual opportunities to network. Now I participate in meetup groups and things like that. So anything to get my hands on actually doing real world development sooner would have done.
That's great. So this one can be easy or tough to answer, but tell us about your biggest failure how you learned from it and overcame.
So professionally, I think my biggest failure was pretty early on in my career, maybe about 2 years into programming professionally, and I had been given a project to integrate two systems. And at the time, I just really didn't know a lot about the entire project management life cycle. And everything that I've been given up until that point, I had enough requirements to be able to develop and test the system, and everything worked just fine. And I was getting very good feedback from my leadership team that I was doing well in my role. And so I've been given this, and it kind of goes back to what I talked about before. Don't be afraid to say that you don't know. And so it really didn't have any requirements, hindsight, looking back on it, and I really should have just raised my hand, and probably the folks around me, the leadership around me, should have said, like, we need more requirements around this effort. But I really struggled with it, and I really took it to be that I wasn't smart enough to do, like this was something, this my level of intelligence or whatever, that I just really couldn't figure this thing out. And so the effort kind of stayed with me for some time. It was a priority, but it wasn't because they weren't giving me requirements for it. And it was so funny because I wound up leaving the organization, but it wasn't because of this project, for another opportunity. But I came back to Edward Jones later on, and they still had not figured out how to integrate this system. So it was really probably not something that someone at my level, at an entry level, should have probably had anyway.
Right, it doesn't sound easy.
But I think looking back on it, knowing what I know now, I would have said, hey, we need to talk about this, that, this. And the other part of it, I knew the system, the source system, I did not know the system that the data was going to, is having enough information to know to ask for what you don't know, if that makes sense, to say, okay, this is what I need to be successful. I didn't have that skill set at that time to be able to articulate that. So that was one of my biggest failures. And looking back on it, really the biggest failure was me not being willing to say, I don't know what to do with this, because I didn't want to seem like, oh, I don't know what to do, because I've been able to do other tasks. So now I'm the first one. I've gotten over that, that I'm just like, who's the person asking the question in the meetings? It's like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Can we level set? And then, once you say that, there's usually probably at least about half, 75% of the room that goes, oh, I'm glad you asked that, because I didn't know what they were talking about either. So don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't have that, I think this information technology, you can really take it internal, your success and failures in something. Don't take it that way. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to say, I don't know this, and that's how you get answers. Don't be afraid to say, hey, I put this code together, and it's probably terrible. Have people rip it apart and learn from it and be open to it. And you'll learn faster than trying to do everything in this insulated bubble because you're afraid of someone saying you don't know something.
Well, I had a very similar, experience where I was afraid to ask for help because, one, I did not want to look stupid. I was very insecure. And in technology, even today, I'm usually the only female. I'm usually the only African American, and that kind of plays some into my insecurities. But like Aiesha was saying, really just don't be afraid to ask for help, because I find that when you're working on a team, everyone wants the team to be successful, and people are willing to help you if you have questions. So definitely don't be afraid to ask for help, and then don't be afraid to fail, because what I've learned just through my journey, every failure is a learning opportunity. So you learn what not to do, and you just continue to get better and better. So don't be afraid to ask questions. and don't be afraid to fail. What advice would you offer to a young girl in either middle school or high school that is interested in coding? How can they get started?
So, like I said, if you have the access, and I have to be mindful of that because I know everyone doesn't have access to an internet connection or have a computer. If you can somehow get access to those two things, there are so many programs, like I said, to get started. Just get started. Get started at the high level. Like you said, it's good to do those concepts. The kind of the conceptualize, the drag and drop of here's a conditional point. I'm going to evaluate something. If it's this or that, then I'm going to go along this logical path. And get started with something that you're passionate about. I think that's the key thing about technology now. It's everywhere. If you're into makeup, there are folks that have makeup applications, daily tips. Create some kind of application that sends a 1-minute daily tip about, eyeshadow or something. Whatever you're passionate about, there is an intersection that you can have with technology. So start there and just see what you can do. Don't try to take on big goals to say, hey, I want to be able to get this video up and be able to have comments. Whatever it is, just keep moving forward. Sometimes with programming, you don't have that immediate gratification depending on what type of programming language that you're working on. You have to kind of grind it out, and there's going to be pitfalls. Just keep trying, and then so you have those resources, and then just like we talked about, get mentors, get groups, ask for help. There are so many folks and hashtags out on Twitter. You can join Slack communities and ask those folks questions, and they will love to help you. That's something my 19-year-old self didn't have. I really wasn't connected across. I met Kesha just by happenstance on Twitter. And so now we're doing this video. There's just so much opportunity. It's so cool. And you can connect with folks, and it's so empowering. So Kesha's doing this, but if there's someone listening to this and you're in junior high, you can do the same thing that Kesha just did amongst your groups. You can have podcasts. There's just so much information out there. You can be part of mentor groups to help you through it. So just reach out. You'll be surprised how many people would love to help you get started.
That's great advice. So tell us what's next for you and what are you just really excited about?
So from a work standpoint, I think next is I just moved to a new team. Most of my career, I supported large ERP systems like PeopleSoft, human capital management, financial, things like that, some more back office software. And over the last 6 to 7 months, I've moved over to support more of the business side functions of Edward Jones, so working with money market, from a banking standpoint, and our trust operations. So that is totally different what I've been used to over the last 13 years. But again, at the base, there's technology, so I'm learning more about the business. So that's the big thing for me, is trying to understand more about the financial service industry, and then how I can, with my technical expertise and now going into leadership, help to make our banking and trust systems successful. So that's from a work standpoint. From a on-the-side home standpoint, I have 2 young children, 4 and 5, a girl and a boy, and so I'm trying to get them interested in science and technology. My daughter is she's 5 years old. She's extremely excited about science right now, and so we're doing a lot of science experiments like volcanoes and things like that. And I think they're ready now. I think they're at the point where we get a Raspberry Pi and start digging into that. I think
Cool.
specialized. I think they'll really be excited about that. They have their own computer that they share, and so they do things on the computer. They're computer literate. They know, okay, I need to click here and working through that, but more along the logic path. Those are the types of things I'm looking for now to see if they can get their minds around this is what we want to do. I'm really interested in robotics. I haven't done much with it. I got introduced to the FIRST program. Are you familiar with that program? Ooh, probably been about 6 years ago, and they were actually having their national competitions here in St. Louis, and we got to see a couple of competitions here while they were here, and that's how I got introduced to that program. So those are things I want to share with my children. So those are the fun things that I'm excited about.
Great. I want to take the time to thank you for sharing your story with us today. Just want to let all of my middle schoolers and high schoolers know that if you have any questions for Aiesha, she's available through our Colors of STEM blog, and I will put her link along with other links at the bottom of the webinar. But she's available. If you have questions, you can reach out and feel free to ask her, and she'll respond. If you have questions for me, you know how to find me. But again, Aiesha, thank you so much for your time today. You've offered great advice to our girls, and you've really done a good job of just showing them what's possible in a technology career. So I appreciate your time today.